Chapter 12:15 Dragon of Destruction. It was not that the old man was foolish. Since he could reach Death Realm, there was no way he would be a foolish person, but he simply did not expect that Su Ming would have this level of adaptability to the cold. It was not as if the old man had not met those who cultivated freezing aura either, but he had never met the spiritlings from Dark Dawn. He did not know the connection they had with the cold. The female spiritlings of Dark Dawn were ice phoenixes, and the men were ice dragons. The cold was a part of their bodies, and it was a power similar to essence. It was also a power that could not be separated from them. It was like their inborn talent. Su Ming's soul had inherited the power of spiritlings due to his mother. His soul had grown during the years, and when it split during the spirit ascension, it finally awakened, allowing him to possess the inborn talents of the spiritlings. However, even though his soul had awakened, he still needed time for it to transform and manifest. Yet the thin old man and the 7 ultimate yin transformation cut down the time by a lot. 7 ultimate yin transformation rune, 3rd ultimate seal. The old man roared excitedly. When the 3rd circle of logs stopped moving, the vortex formed due to its rotation swiftly shrank and charged at the block of ice. It grew thousands of feet again and looked even more muddled than before. The chilling aura from it surged into the heavens and spread through the area. While within the ice, Su Ming stared at the nucleus in his soul. As a large amount of chilling aura fused into it, it continued to grow, and the life contained in it seemed to reach the critical moment when it was about to be born. There isn't enough cold. I need more. Su Ming's eyes sparkled. Since he had already decided that he would have the cold fuse with his soul to find out what would eventually come out from the nucleus in his soul, he would definitely not easily give up on his idea. He decided to no longer have the chilling aura fuse into him passively. Instead, he would actively absorb it. Su Ming could not do this previously, but by then, the chilling aura and the ice around him gave Su Ming a feeling that they were part of him. As long as he wanted to, he could bring them over. Passivity and activity were antonyms, and the difference between them were like the sky and earth. A glint appeared in Su Ming's eyes, and he sucked in a deep breath without hesitation. The chilling aura in the ice instantly surged into him as if it had erupted. If it had been like streams of flowing water before, then right then, it surged at him like a tidal wave. Once inside, it was instantly sent into his soul. The nucleus in Su Ming's soul grew larger. As he continued taking the initiative and absorbing the chilling aura, the ice around him started shrinking rapidly. 10,000 something feet, 10,000 feet, 8,000 feet. When there was only 3,000 something feet left, even the people beyond the area could vaguely see Su Ming within the block of ice. This scene caused the old man's expression to change drastically. At that moment, he could no longer bother with anything else. He formed a seal with his hands and swiftly struck the top of his skull. As he jolted, he opened his mouth and spat out a small blue flag. The old man's presence instantly became weaker again, but a chilling aura that surpassed all that had appeared earlier erupted from the flag. The old man pointed at it with his right hand, and the flag instantly rushed at the block of ice around Su Ming. It drew close to it and swiftly stabbed it. At the instant it did so, the chilling aura that erupted from it enveloped the ice with a bang, causing it to swiftly grow to fight against the shrinking. At the same time, the old man swung his arm and growled while panting. 7 ultimate yin transformation rune, 4th and 5th ultimate seals. As he roared, the 4th and 5th circles of logs stopped at the same time. The vortex they formed swept up an endless amount of chilling aura and charged at the ice. Once they branded themselves on it, the ice grew to 300,000 feet with the help of the flag. The woman in the whirlwind in the distance was watching the ice with a fixed stare at that moment. She seemed to be able to see Su Ming and the nucleus in his soul. As the ice grew, even Su Ming had a strange feeling that the cultivators from South Union and the thin old man beyond the ice were not his enemies. They were helping him form the nucleus in his soul with all their strength, or else they would not be sending the chilling aura to him as if they were afraid that he would not have enough of it when he was absorbing it on his own initiative. There was a strange look on Su Ming's face, but he went on to be even more active in his absorption of this chilling aura. As he absorbed it, a cracking sound suddenly came from the nucleus in his soul. Only Su Ming alone could hear the sound, but when he heard it, the feeling that the being inside was him became unprecedentedly stronger. At the same time as the nucleus seemed to be about to shatter, a vast absorption force appeared. With it around, the chilling aura surged into Su Ming like an ocean instead of the tidal wave from before. The 30,000 feet tall block of ice instantly became only 10,000 feet tall, and in another blink of an eye, it became only 1,000 feet tall. It looked like it would disappear fully the next instant. But the absorption had not ended, and Su Ming discovered that if there was no more chilling aura around him, the life that was about to be born from the nucleus within his soul would wither and die. But Su Ming did not need to worry about it. The thin old man was even more worried than him. He had already went so far, so he had to give it his all, or all would be in vain. The thin old man let out a crazed roar and closed his eyes. His nascent divinity instantly went out of his body and appeared in the area above Su Ming. Without any hesitation, it used its full power to strike down. The old man's nascent divinity shone with a blinding light, and the chill radiating off it was far colder than all enchanted treasures. It immediately enveloped the ice encasing Su Ming, which was now only 5 feet, and swiftly grew it again. I'm giving it my all. If I can't seal you today, I will definitely die. At the instant the thin old man's nascent divinity roared, the chilling aura spreading from it surged into Su Ming's ice, and it was instantly sucked away towards the nucleus in his soul. In just the span of 2 breaths, the old man's nascent divinity became dim, as if he had been emptied, and only at that moment did he come to a realization. Shock appeared on his face when he looked at Su Ming. A powerful, life-threatening sense of crisis assaulted him. The instant he was about to control the rune and activate the 6th seal, all the ice around Su Ming disappeared in an instant. Once he absorbed all of it, the nucleus in his soul cracked again. At the same time, a ray of black light shot out from there. It instantly swept out and swallowed the nucleus in Su Ming's soul. It then let out a roar and seemed to want to rush out of the top of Su Ming's skull. Before it did so, an endless chilling aura surged out and reached an area of 100,000 feet, causing the old man's nascent divinity to shudder before disbelieving shock appeared on his face. 7 Ultimate Yin Transformation Rune, 6th Ultimate Seal. He roared without any hesitation. His expression was full of despair along with complete madness. When he roared, the 6th circle of logs came to an abrupt halt, which resulted in countless spinning images around their original circle. They appeared due to the vortex. It swiftly shrank while spinning, and at the instant the life born from the nucleus in Su Ming's soul was about to rush out, the vortex covered him, intending to seal him. But the next moment, it disintegrated with a loud roar that surged into the skies. Su Ming was not the one responsible for it though. Neither was it his will that had caused it. Instead, it was a black dragon that had rushed out of the top of his skull. The dragon was entirely black, and an indescribable chilling aura spread out from it. 7 Ultimate Yin Transformation Rune, 7th Ultimate Seal, seal him. Seal him. Seal him. The old man's nascent divinity let out a shrill cry. Its voice was piercing and held complete madness. The outermost circle of logs formed by the 500,000 cultivators, which was also the only remaining circle that was still spinning, was the largest of all the circles, and at that moment it stopped. With a sealing power that surpassed all the power added together by the 6 circles of logs earlier, the newly formed vortex charged at Su Ming with a bang. It was the final power of the 7 Ultimate Yin Transformation Rune. This vortex gathered everything from the thin old man, the 500,000 cultivators, and the 500 cold-natured logs. It approached Su Ming in an instant and turned into a powerful seal. Its sealing power could even slightly affect Su Ming's will of an antecedental spirit. But the instant the vortex was about to cover Su Ming, the black dragon at the top of his skull let out a roar at the heavens. This was the first roar it made after it was born, and it seemed to be announcing something, like a promise to the entire universe that it would become the emperor of the cold in the world. He would be the master of the spiritlings of Dark Dawn. It was a black dragon. It might have only been around 1,000 feet long, but when it appeared, it shook the galaxy, freezing everything in the area. It was the Dragon of Destruction. The powerful vortex formed by the 7th Ultimate Seal of the 7 Ultimate Yin Transformation Rune turned into ice at that instant. It was sealed around Su Ming and became an unmoving circle. The thin old man's nascent divinity, the 500 cultivators in the area, and the logs were also frozen. Everything in the area came to a stop at that instant. Shu Hui's log was also frozen, but it was different from the others. The breathing of the woman in the whirlwind quickened at that instant. When she looked at Su Ming, the soul of the ice phoenix in her body showed signs of submission. This made her instinctively take a few steps back. Her expression changed multiple times as she mumbled under her breath, "Dragon of Destruction." Chapter 12:16. Ancient God, Ta Jiao, the Black Dragon of Destruction, floated in the universe, and Su Ming was right across it. As he stared at the dragon, the feeling as if it was him suddenly vanished. It was not that the feeling was gone, but it had just settled in Su Ming's heart and turned into a feeling that was wholly unnecessary. Instead, a feeling that this was what was supposed to happen took over. This dragon was a part of the manifestation of Su Ming's soul when it was not in his body. In silence, Su Ming turned his head around and cast his gaze across the frozen vortex and the 500,000 cultivators. It landed on the thin old man's nascent divinity above him. It had broken down, but its collapse was not due to Su Ming. Instead, at the instant he was frozen, the old man had chosen to have his nascent divinity self-destruct. Su Ming remained silent for a moment. He then lifted his right hand and swung his arm. The Frozen 7 Ultimate Yin transformation rune around him shattered with loud cracking sounds, which resulted in ice shards falling all over the galaxy. At the same time, the ice around the 500,000 cultivators vanished. The logs beneath them started shattering then until they were reduced to ashes. The 500,000 cultivators had pale faces. Under Su Ming's gaze, they lowered their heads, not daring to say a single word. Su Ming's strength had already broken all their will. "Deliver your souls and have my will be branded on you. Become the disciples of the 9th summit, or die," Su Ming said flatly. When his words echoed in space, one of 500,000 cultivators gradually bowed to Su Ming in silence. Slowly, more people did so, and when all of them worshipped him, he saw the pale Shu Hui and Shun standing behind her. When Su Ming saw Shu Hui, Heg frowned. Just as he was about to observe her closely, a thought suddenly appeared in his heart, and he lifted his head to stare at the frozen nascent divinity of the thin old man. He noticed that even though the cultivators had bowed to him, there were some who were subconsciously casting glances at the frozen nascent divinity. As Su Ming watched it, a cold sneer suddenly appeared at the corners of his lips. He saw a hint of a refusal to admit defeat in the eyes of the thin old man's nascent divinity, as well as determination. He also saw no signs of explosive power from when his nascent divinity crumbled. Instead, with his own destruction, he had formed a Runia relocation rune. This rune was not used for fleeing. Instead, it seemed like there was someone who was using it to come over. "So this is your final pillar of support, hem?" Su Ming asked faintly, then lifted his right hand to push at the ice through space. He narrowed his eyes, and a glint shone in them. The presence of an ancient god. He smiled faintly, then pointed at the ice sealing the thin old man. With it, the ice instantly vanished. At the instant it disappeared, the destruction of the thin old man's nascent divinity swiftly continued. As booming sounds surged into space, they spread out to form a relocation rune that was tens of thousands of feet big. At the instant the relocation rune was formed, a low growl shot out from it like a thunderous roar. At the same time, a huge hand appeared. It was followed by a thick arm which was about 10,000 feet big. When it stretched out, the huge hand grabbed the relocation rune, and with a swift tear, it crumbled with a bang. Ripples spread out in all directions, and the cultivators fell back in all directions when a huge object shot out. It was a body that was 100,000 feet tall, had coarse skin, a presence akin to a giant's, and 7 sparkling stars at the center of its brows. It was an ancient god with 7 stars. The moment he appeared, the ancient god threw his head back and roared. A powerful presence spread out from his huge body, and it was so strong that it surpassed all the ancient gods Su Ming had met in the past. In fact, Su Ming even saw a faint star right by the 7 stars. It was an ancient god with 8 stars, one which Su Ming had never met before. However, there seemed to be some problems with the 8th star, for it was already dark. But the power erupting from the ancient god gave off a feeling that he was nearly in Death Realm. The ancient god's physical strength had to have surpassed his level of cultivation. His physical power was probably on par with a normal almighty in Death Realm, and he might even be more difficult to handle than those people. The strength of his physical body was his best weapon. If no one was capable of destroying it, then even those in Death Realm would have to turn tail and run from him. As he growled, a ferocious look appeared on his face. He lifted his right hand and sent a punch over. Su Ming did not dodge. He stared at the ancient god before him, and his eyes sparkled. He saw that while there was a ferocious glare in the ancient god's eyes, it could not hide the emptiness in his gaze. It was an ancient god who had lost his intelligence. At the instant the ancient god sent his right hand charging towards him, Su Ming vanished. When he reappeared, he was right above the ancient god's head. With a look down, he saw countless silver needles stabbed into the top of the ancient god's skull. There were perhaps 100,000 of them. Controlling an ancient god? Looks like I've underestimated these cultivators from South Union. But I do wonder just how many of them are needed for this ancient god, Su Ming murmured. He could tell what was wrong with just one glance. The ancient god opened his mouth wide and let out a roar that shook the galaxy. His roar was so strong that it was akin to a sound wave, and as if it had gained corporeal form, it turned into countless ripples that charged toward Su Ming. This was originally an ancient god with 8 stars, but for some unknown reason, he fell into the hands of South Union. Since they could not control him while he had 8 stars, they used some rather complicated methods to suppress his 8th star. Such a battle would be meaningless. Su Ming's eyes sparkled. At the instant the ancient god's roars turned into ripples and closed in on him, he did not dodge, but took a step forward and faced the roar that could make those in Life Realm tremble in fear and ordinary almighties in Death Realm flee. The next instant, he appeared at the center of the ancient god's brows, right where the 8th star was. Su Ming moved incredibly quickly. At the instant he approached the giant, he lifted his right hand and pointed at the dim 8th star with his index finger. His power and his will of an antecedental spirit erupted from him the moment he touched it and gathered on his finger. He tore open a gap in the rune sealing the ancient god's 8th star by pure external force. Then, Su Ming lifted his hand and straightened his palm to strike the ancient god's forehead. With it, booming sounds surged into space. The ancient god shuddered and staggered a few steps back. The 100,000 silver needles at the top of his skull were pulled 1 inch higher due to the shock created by Su Ming's palm strike. The ancient god let out a shrill howl, but a hint of intelligence appeared in his eyes and gathered together in a barely discernible manner. As you are right now, you are not my opponent. I will give you a chance to restore your 8th star and a chance to make it so that the people who control you can no longer do so. If you seize that chance, you can fight against me to your heart's content. But if you don't, Su Ming said flatly while moving back. He did not finish speaking, but the spark of intelligence in the ancient god's eyes gained focus. He had clearly understood what Su Ming had meant. The next second, he roared and struck his own body at full force. With that one strike, the ancient god shuddered. The silver needles at the top of his skull were raised a little more, and the dim 8th star at the center of his brows glimmered, but its light was soon suppressed. The silver needles at the top of the ancient god's skull buzzed, causing him to let out a shrill roar. I am an ancient god, a powerful warrior of my people. You have no right to control my mind. For the first time since showing up, the ancient god spoke. In his words were a hint of arrogance and madness. As he roared, his body grew swiftly. He grew several times his previous size of 100,000 feet before lifting his right hand to strike his forehead. With it, the 8th star at the center of his brows lit up once more. It might have become dim moments later, but some of the silver needles at the top of the ancient god's skull were forced out with a bang. When I was going through the 8th star's transformation, you used the divine soul incense to make me fall unconscious, so you must receive the ancient god's wrath. I am an ancient god, one who is not to be offended. I am the ancient god Ta Jiao, the one you must worship. Ta Jiao howled. He struck the center of his forehead with his hands once more. This time, his skull shuddered, and 3/10 of the silver needles were forced out with a bang. The 8th star at the center of his brows grew brighter, and a presence much greater than before erupted from him non-stop. I am so noisy. Instead of howling like this, it's better that you keep all that grudge in you and let it all out in one go to break the seal. Su Ming said coldly. The ancient god was stunned, but he obediently stopped howling. He shut his mouth, and veins popped up on his face. His presence seemed to be pulled back, as if it was the calm before a storm, but he was shuddering slightly. About 10 breaths later, an unprecedented howl came out from Tarjio's mouth. The 8th star at the center of his brows brightened swiftly, and all the seals in it were crushed. The remaining silver needles at the top of his skull were forced out and shattered right after. All 8 stars started shining, and Tarjio's roars reverberated through space. His presence swelled up again. In the blink of an eye, he surpassed Life Realm and reached Death Realm from being only near it. He actually went as far as nearing the peak of Death Realm. The strength of his physical power caused his body to shrink at that moment, and once he became only about 10,000 feet big, his presence grew to a heinous degree, causing the galaxy to tremble. Damned Arid Triad, damned the savage and barbaric cultivators, damned universe, damned Saint Defier Expanse Cosmos, I have finally broken through the limit of 7 stars and reached 8 stars. I will leave this place and return to the world of ancient gods. Before I leave, I will kill all those damned cultivators of South Union. I will crush their bones into ashes. I will. Are you done? Su Ming asked flatly. Tarjio turned his head around and stared at Su Ming before he suddenly grinned. There was even a good-natured feeling to his smile. Oh well, you might have offended me twice, but you were kind to me, so I'll let it slide, Tarjio said loudly while hitting his chest. I helped you because only your current self has the right to let me test my god of Berserker's transformation. A great fighting spirit arose in Su Ming's eyes. Chapter 12:17. Ancient slave Tarjio's eyes shone as did the 8 stars at the center of his brow. He stared at Su Ming and suddenly grinned. There was a hint of scorn in his grin. You might have done me a favor, but that favor isn't as great as you think. I won't make things hard for you today, but if you continue pestering me, do not blame me for crushing you. There was contempt in Tarjio's voice. The air of supremacy in his words was prominent, and it was no wonder he acted this way. After all, he was no longer a 7-star ancient god, but an 8-star ancient god, a powerful warrior who, in his memories, had the world at his beck and call. You can try, Su Ming said faintly. That one sentence brought killing intent to Tarjio's eyes. With a cold harumph, he took a swift step toward Su Ming. He lifted his right hand and threw a punch in Su Ming's direction, which stirred up loud booming sounds. You do not know what is good for you. He laughed coldly, and the punch containing the power of the 8-star ancient god caused the galaxy to shake and transform the instant it was thrown. It was as if the galaxy was about to collapse and the heavens were about to sink when the punch went for Su Ming. A brilliant light shone in Su Ming's eyes. The image of the dragon of destruction behind him did not move though. He took a step forward and instantly closed in on Tarjio. He lifted his right hand and clenched his fist. Then in the simplest fashion and without using any divine abilities, he threw a punch against the ancient god's gigantic fist. A bang shot up into the air. Su Ming jolted and staggered nearly 1,000 feet back. When he stomped down at space with his right foot, the galaxy trembled, and distortions appeared. As for Tarjio, he did not budge even half an inch. There was arrogance on his face, and the contempt on his face grew stronger. He took a step again and charged at Su Ming. I only used 1/7 of my power just now. This time, if you still dare to move forward, your body will definitely be crushed. My current physical body can defeat those with 7 stars, but the 8-star ancient god is way more powerful. Su Ming shook his head. He quelled down his tumbling cultivation base, then lifted his right hand and clenched his fist. Countless berserker souls from great berserker tribe instantly appeared around his right hand. They fused into his right hand, left hand, his legs, and when Su Ming's entire body fused with 100 million souls from great berserker tribe, he swelled up until he was hundreds of feet tall. An indescribable presence spread out from him. When he clenched his fist, it was full of barely contained power. This was Su Ming's god of berserker's transformation. He had turned into the god of berserkers with a berserker body when his berserker bones merged with 100 million berserker souls. As if he had reverted to his roots, the most powerful physical strength of the berserkers erupted in an instant from him. When the god of berserker's transformation was activated, the pupils of Tarjio shrank, and a sense of danger instantly appeared in his heart. Once Su Ming went through his god of berserker's transformation, he took a step forward, turned into a long arc, and charged at Ta Jiao. First punch. Booming sounds surged into the heavens. They reached a deafening degree when Su Ming's right fist crashed against Ta Jiao's fist. The impact stirred up even more noise as it swept out. A disbelieving look appeared on Ta Jiao's face when his body tumbled back. He was forced back 10,000-something feet back by Su Ming's punch. Su Ming jolted. He took 2 steps backwards. When he lifted his head, he rushed forward with a calm face. Second punch. Loud booming sounds reverberated through the galaxy, and Ta Jiao coughed up blood. He moved back again, and a roar tumbled out of his mouth. Damn it! This is impossible. I am an ancient god. I am an 8-star ancient god. A savage and barbaric cultivator like you should not have the power to send me back. Ta Jiao's eyes were bloodshot. When he moved back, he turned swiftly. He wanted to change his direction and charge at Su Ming, but the moment he stopped, Su Ming instantly appeared in front of him. Third punch. It landed on Ta Jiao's chest, causing him to let out a shrill roar. When he coughed up blood again, he shuddered and moved back. Su Ming's aloof expression seemed to have turned into a traumatic shadow in Ta Jiao's eyes, and it was magnified endlessly when Su Ming threw his fourth punch. This scene did not escape the eyes of all the cultivators in the area, and they fell silent in shock. Su Ming had an overwhelming upper hand. Ta Jiao did not have the power to fight back. Under Su Ming's punches, his body started showing signs of crumbling. Blood continuously gushed out from him, and the terror in his eyes became greater. Fifth punch. Sixth punch. Booming sounds continuously rang out in space. Su Ming threw 6 consecutive punches, and Ta Jiao moved back non-stop, but he could not escape from Su Ming's speed. All of this happened in just the span of a few breaths. When Su Ming closed in again, he lifted his right hand, clenched his fist, and threw his final punch. Seventh punch. This punch contained all of Su Ming's power while he was in the God of Berserker's transformation. At the instant he threw his punch, it seemed to have become a black hole that absorbed all the light and space in the area. When it landed on Ta Jiao's chest, a muffled bang came from the ancient god's body. Ta Jiao shuddered, and this time, he did not move back. Instead, his huge body was thrown back by Su Ming's punch. He turned into an arc, and when he fell, countless cracks appeared on his body. He was a bloody mess, and his chest looked like it was about to explode. His mind scattered when Su Ming's punch had shattered his veins. The 8 stars at the center of his brows faded together at that moment as if they were about to be extinguished. Su Ming's God of Berserker's transformation ended then, and his body returned to normal. While standing in the galaxy, he cast a cold glance at Ta Jiao, who had fallen to the side. His blood is not pure. If it was an 8-star ancient god with pure blood, the god of Berserker's transformation would not have been enough to defeat him so easily. The old man from Heavenly Spirit Tribe said faintly at that moment. Impure blood, huh? Su Ming's eyes sparkled. He had thought of possessing Ta Jiao so that he would have an ancient god clone, which was why he had helped release Ta Jiao's seal earlier, but at that moment, he got rid of that thought. If he wanted a clone, he would go for one with pure blood. But it would be a pity to kill an ancient god just like that. A strange light shone in Su Ming's eyes, and the instant Ta Jiao tried to struggle to his feet, Su Ming closed his eyes. The will of the universe immediately turned into the will of an antecedental spirit. Once he replaced the universe and became the will of heaven, he swiftly descended on Ta Jiao. Become my slave. This is the will of heaven, Su Ming said. At the instant he did so, Ta Jiao let out a shrill scream of pain. He brought his hands to his head where the will of heaven was like an invisible net. It trapped his soul tightly, like a seal, and Su Ming's will was branded on it. This was an even more incisive method compared to the one South Union had used to control the ancient god. Su Ming used the will of heaven to forcefully enslave the ancient god without giving him a single chance to fight back. Screams of pain echoed in space before gradually disappearing in about a dozen-something breaths. In silence, Ta Jiao lowered his hands from his head. He stared at Su Ming with a complicated expression. After a long while, he lowered his head and his body towards Su Ming. At the same time, the 500,000 cultivators from South Union in the area knelt down simultaneously with their hearts trembling when Su Ming swept his gaze across them. Right after, They sent their souls and simply allowed Su Ming to brand them with the will of heaven. When all the people besides Shu Hui and Deshan gained Su Ming's brand in their souls, a vast power of the laws of fate in the world surged swiftly at him, and Su Ming immediately turned this external fate into his own laws of fate the moment he absorbed it. This allowed Su Ming's will of an antecedental spirit to expand to twice its original size and spread through the area. During that instant, a large amount of laws of fate gathered on him in an unseen manner from Ninth Summit's direction. When it enveloped Su Ming's entire body, his soul tumbled about. He had a strong feeling that with some more hundreds of thousands of cultivators' laws of fate, he could reach the point when he could possess true Morning Dao world ahead of schedule. He forcefully quelled that strong feeling in his heart and swept his gaze across the area before focusing on Shu Hui and Deshan. With one step, he instantly appeared in front of them. Shu Hui shuddered, and the mark of the scorpion at the center of her brows distorted. It appeared behind her as well, and it looked incredibly nervous. Deshan stared at Su Ming anxiously. His heart was filled with fear since he did not know what the unfamiliar powerful warrior before him wanted to do. When did she lose her memories? Su Ming moved his gaze away from Shu Hui's body and fixed his stare on Deshan's face. Deshan's expression swiftly changed. He shuddered and became hesitant. "Senior, I do not know what you are saying." As Deshan shuddered, he suddenly grabbed Shu Hui and pulled her behind him. He did not know why he would do this, it all just seemed natural to him. Shu Hui did not reject his touch either. The pressure Su Ming gave her was incredibly great, and it caused her face to turn pale. Fear appeared in her eyes, but for some unknown reason, some complicated feelings rose in her heart as well. Su Ming watched this with a calm expression and sighed softly in his heart. He did not bother about Deshan, but walked to Shu Hui. Her expression immediately changed, and she instinctively wanted to move back. Red appeared in Deshan's eyes. He roared, as if he had forgotten about Su Ming's power, and intended to attack. But before he could do so, Su Ming's right index finger tapped the center of Shu Hui's brows. "You used this strange divine ability to protect yourself during Morning Dao sex disaster, but this art isn't perfect. It will split your soul into two, and a second consciousness will appear. Right now, your original consciousness is asleep, and your second consciousness has occupied your body." Light shone in Su Ming's right hand, and a ripple surged into Shu Hui's body. Immediately, a look of struggle appeared on her face. Her gaze when she stared at Su Ming was occasionally one of familiarity, at other times full of complicated emotions, and sometimes like she was looking at a stranger. Yet soon, the unfamiliar feeling gradually started showing signs of disappearing. Su Ming's action caused a fluctuation to appear in Shu Hui's sleeping soul, and it showed signs of waking up. "You can't." Deshan trembled. Madness and pain appeared in his bloodshot eyes as he stared at Shu Hui while mumbling. He knew that even though he had constantly been bullied during the past few years he was in contact with her, they had still kept each other company for years, which had resulted in him unknowingly falling in love Shu Hui. He knew that the one he liked was not the previous Shu Hui, but the second consciousness in her body, which was why he had not brought Shu Hui out to search for Su Ming, but had instead joined South Union. Chapter 12:18. Startled to retreat, Deshan knew that when the real Shu Hui woke up, the second consciousness would disappear. This was something he could not accept, and he did not want to let this happen. That was why he went against Shu Hui's request. He had always been careful and cautious to not have her come into contact with too many people, much less help her search for Su Ming. In his point of view, if a long period of time passed, Shu Hui's new consciousness would become stronger until she completely suppressed her original soul, and then he would succeed. He had also noticed that the new consciousness seemed to harbor a bit of a strange feeling towards him. This made Deshan become excited and even more sure of his own theory. "You can't do this. She's mine. You can't wipe away her consciousness." Deshan's eyes became bloodshot. He roared at Su Ming and wanted to pounce on him, but there was a layer of light around Su Ming and Shu Hui's bodies, which forced him to fall back when he came into contact with it. But he had gone mad and pounced on it time and again, regardless of the cost or how many times he was sent back. Blood trickled down the corners of his lips, but he did not care. His madness made it seem as if Su Ming was murdering his lover. This scene caused Su Ming to frown. When he lifted his right hand from the center of Shu Hui's brows, her eyes shut. After a long time, she opened them, and they held a gentleness when she looked at Su Ming. His appearance might have changed, but when he touched the center of her brows and awakened her soul, she knew that the person before her was Su Ming. "How long have I been asleep?" she asked softly. "Very long," Su Ming said slowly, then lifted his hand and caressed Xu Hui's long hair. When Deshan saw this scene from beyond the light screen, despair appeared in his eyes, and a hatred he had never felt before rose within him. All of it was directed at Su Ming. It might seem unreasonable and others might not be able to understand it, but it took root in Deshan's heart as he continued blaming Su Ming for what happened. That hate overtook his mind. However, that hatred hid a deep sadness. When Deshan's gaze landed on Xu Hui, it became greater and turned into tears. They fused with his blood and landed on his clothes. The pain in his heart when he looked at Xu Hui made him feel as if his body was about to be torn apart. He turned around swiftly and transformed into a long arc. He wanted to leave the place that broke his heart. He might know that Xu Hui had never belonged to him, but he could not accept this. He also understood that he was being unreasonable, but he still hated Su Ming. This hatred would make him exact revenge without regards of the cost. He would search for a chance to kill Su Ming with madness and desperation fueling him. He might be too weak right then, but he knew how to bear troubles patiently. He buried the hate deep in his heart to wait for a day when it could be allowed to spill out from him. Xu Hui's gaze landed on Deshan, who was already leaving into the distance. A complicated look appeared in her eyes, but at the same time, there was a cold, fierce glare in them. The matter with that person is connected to my oversight. I will handle this. There is a sect called Ninth Summit in my memories. Is it yours? Xu Hui asked softly. Su Ming nodded. Xu Hui did not speak. Once she walked out of the light screen, she turned into a long arc and rushed off after Deshan. There was a chilling intent around her. You don't have to kill him. After all, if not for him, we would not have met each other right now, Su Ming said slowly. Xu Hui did not stop for even a moment and did not say a single thing. She simply left into the distance and disappeared into space. Su Ming stared after her, then sighed softly. This matter was slightly complicated. There was no right or wrong in it. Su Ming did not have the right to handle this, and the only person who did was Xu Hui herself. In silence, Su Ming swept his gaze across the cultivators of South Union in the area. Go to the Ninth Summit. From now on, you will be disciples of the Ninth Summit. As Su Ming's words echoed in space, the 500,000 cultivators in the area bowed to him, then turned into long arcs that left into the distance. They naturally knew where the Ninth Summit was located since their initial goal of coming was to destroy it. As the cultivators in the area left into the distance, the galaxy regained its silence. Su Ming had forced down the powerful sensation of the laws of fate in him, but when the area became quiet, it rose up again. He moved his gaze slowly to the whirlwind in the distance. On the other side of the whirlwind there are still quite a number of cultivators from South Union. A brilliant light lit up in Su Ming's eyes. But when he was about to step into the whirlwind, a great sense of danger suddenly rose in his heart. It was life-threatening, which was something Su Ming had not experienced for some time. It caused killing intent to spread out from his body, and next to him, the old man from Heavenly Spirit Tribe lifted his head with a growl. Begone! He had only said one word, but the universe instantly distorted and became a muddled mess. Space disappeared as if the entire universe had turned into a black hole. Ripples spread out, and an indescribably mighty pressure swept out in every direction. The whirlwind disintegrated straight away. It did not do so in one spot, but the space in Su Ming's line of vision completely disappeared in an instant. An unparalleled will descended in that area and swept outwards. A domineering intent that could destroy all lives was contained within it. In fact, Su Ming felt as if the entire galaxy had been crushed. However, it instantly gathered together once more. This scene caused Su Ming's heart to tremble. He then heard a muffled sound in the disintegrated whirlwind. A woman coughed up a mouthful of blood. She moved back swiftly and in an instant disappeared into the distance. As she left, the life-threatening sense of danger instantly disappeared from Su Ming's heart. Soon after, the old man from Heavenly Spirit Tribe lifted his right hand calmly. He beckoned to the area where the whirlwind had disintegrated, and a ball of blood went to him. It floated to his palm and distorted for a moment before turning into an ice phoenix that charged straight towards the old man's eyes. He let out a cold snort. He did not do anything else, but the ice phoenix froze in front of him. Summon that divine mirage of the dragon of destruction from your soul. This thing will be a very good supplement for it, the old man said faintly. Divine mirage of the dragon of destruction? A thought appeared in Su Ming's heart. He immediately summoned the black dragon of destruction above the top of his skull and had it charge at the ice phoenix. It devoured the phoenix in an instant and threw its head back to roar. Its body grew to 2,000-something feet before it returned to Su Ming's soul. Within Dark Dawn, those who have divine mirages filled with cold attribute are Wu spiritlings. This race's souls are like spirits, and they call them divine mirages. That black dragon of destruction of yours is a supreme entity among the spiritlings because one of the original forms of the 3 ancestral spirits the spiritlings respect was a dragon of destruction. The person who wanted to attack you just now is a spiritling. That lass actually tried to fight back while fleeing after I shouted at her. From this alone, it can be seen that she is quite powerful. You, without being in your god of Berserker's transformation state, you are not her opponent. Do you want me to get rid of the problem for you? The old man from Heavenly Spirit Tribe asked flatly and cast Su Ming a glance. Su Ming was silent. With his intellect, there was no way he would not be able to guess that the woman was a spiritling. Since a dragon of destruction was born in the nucleus of his soul, it was more than enough for him to know that the portion of the soul's power which belonged to his mother's race had awakened. Perhaps this was the reason behind why the woman had come. Judging by the looks of it, she was hostile to him, but Su Ming shook his head and did not speak. He merely kept this in mind. I will handle this matter myself. Since I can only fight against her when using the god of Berserker's transformation, then once I possess true Morning Dao world. Su Ming said calmly. The old man from Heavenly Spirit Tribe smiled faintly and did not push the matter. Instead, he cast a glance in the direction in which the woman had disappeared as if he was deep in thought. Su Ming took a step forward. Since he had already decided that he would bring forward his schedule to possess true Morning Dao world, he moved through the whirlwind without any hesitation. His goal was to turn all the remaining cultivators of South Union into his laws of fate. Once Su Ming left into the distance and stepped into the whirlwind, the ripple from the ring appeared under his feet, making his speed to be so fast that he instantly disappeared without a trace. In a certain region within true Morning Dao world was an area where space distorted, and when it did, a woman walked out. She was dressed in a long blue robe, and her beautiful face was pale at that moment. When she appeared, blood immediately trickled down the corners of her lips. She staggered a few steps backwards. When she turned her head around to look behind her, a murderous look appeared in her eyes, but within it was a hint of shock and astonishment. Who is that old man? That person's power is so terrifying that it is incredibly rare to find someone else with his power in the 180 expanse cosmoses in Dark Dawn. With one growl, he instantly made the galaxy shatter before it gathered together again. It shattered my body as well, which injured my original soul. His existence is practically on par with the 3 sovereigns of Dawn. This person is definitely an antecedental spirit as well. The woman was pale. The terror on her face only disappeared after a long while had passed. When it did, her expression suddenly changed again, and she coughed up blood once more. My divine mirage fused. No, it was devoured by the dragon of destruction. The woman gritted her teeth, and annoyance appeared on her face. She had not attacked back then, but when she saw Su Ming step into the whirlwind, she had unwittingly let loose a hint of killing intent. But there was hesitation and complicated emotions in her killing intent. However, once it attracted Su Ming's attention, it had caused the old man to attack, startling her so much that she fled after his single growl. An existence like that old man will stay beside the boy for only a little while. He won't stay for long. There will come a day when he will leave. The woman was silent for a moment, then brought out some medicinal cores with her right hand and swallowed them. Then, with a single move, she turned into a gust of cold that disappeared into the galaxy. She had to search for a place to regulate her cultivation base. The old man's growl had injured her original soul, and she wanted to avoid him temporarily. Chapter 1219. Fang. Time trickled by, and 3 days passed. Su Ming charged through the whirlwind under Arid Triad's gap. The ripple from the ring surrounded him, which allowed his speed to be even faster than normal. The old man from Heavenly Spirit Tribe was by his side. He would occasionally lift his head and gaze at Arid Triad's gap, but he looked calm, which didn't let other people tell what was on his mind. After a long while, the old man said languidly, "Within a year, the tribes of Wu and Shu will descend through Arid Triad's gap. Right now, the two sides are starting to show signs of reaching a compromise to the war they waged beyond the gap." Su Ming was silent. He might not be able to see things as clearly and as detailed as the old man, but he could deduce that it was impossible for either Saint Defier or Dark Dawn to win the war. It would end with both sides reaching some sort of agreement and descending at the same time. Instead of saying that the war was a fight to determine who will obtain Arid Triad's gap, it would be better to say it was a fight to gain the initiative to modify and limit the other party. At that moment, it would be apt to say that Arid Triad Expanse Cosmos was in grave danger. In truth, Su Ming was not the only one who was struggling to make himself stronger. There were plenty of cultivators who were searching for serendipities to become stronger everywhere in the other true worlds. Only by making themselves stronger could they build a foundation that would allow them to survive the upcoming disaster. But compared to them, the serendipity Su Ming obtained in the broken true Morning Dao world was much greater. The areas he could exploit were also more complete, because the entire true Morning Dao world could be used by him. Due to a large number of deaths and the damage dealt to true Morning Dao world, Su Ming had the chance to possess a true world. Resolve appeared in his eyes at that moment. While he charged through the whirlwind, the old man from Heavenly Spirit Tribe kept on staring at Arid Triad's gap above them. With his power, he could see plenty of things Su Ming could not. He could see the war in the world beyond, and he could see the galaxy belonging to Saint Defier Expanse Cosmos as well as the powerful warriors within it. Making this gap, what a move, the old man mumbled, and a strange light appeared in his eyes. Arid Triads will ignore those who have not become antecedental spirits and will not bother about those who have not surpassed Death Realm. So it's impossible for those foreigners to have created this gap. Even if they worked together, they still couldn't fight against Arid Triad's will. Only a cultivator of Arid Triad Expanse Cosmos could make this gap, and he couldn't have surpassed Death Realm. He also couldn't be an antecedental spirit. But because of it, it's practically impossible to open a gap. This gap did not appear by accident, but was bound to be formed. It isn't just a tunnel for Wu and Shu to descend, but also a path for all tribes in Wei to rush out of Arid Triad. If Arid Triads had not acknowledged it, there is no way that this gap could have formed. The old man's murmurs reached Su Ming's ears, and he came to a sudden stop, but soon, he continued charging forward. Arid Triads will, Arid disaster. I will soon find the truth of your relationship. Let's see whether my guess is truly correct. It should come again soon. A dark light shone in the old man's eyes. He did not speak again and averted his gaze from Arid Triad's gap. Another day went by like that. When Su Ming had been charging for approximately 4 days, he rushed out, completing his journey through the entire whirlwind under Arid Triad's gap. At the instant he appeared, Su Ming saw the galaxy over at the other side of true Morning Dao world. It was where Yin Death Region and South Union were located. Su Ming swept his gaze across the area, then charged into the distance, heading to the spot where he located South Union when he used his divine sense to scan the place. It was a continent formed by various floating pieces of land. It was incredibly huge, and there were 5 planets surrounding it. Each planet had a protection rune, and together they formed a great rune that enveloped the continent within it. From the distance, it looked like a gigantic ring of light. There were 3 cities on the continent. They were the core regions of South Union, and each of them was defended by a Union leader in Death Realm. However, as of then, there was only one South Union leader left among the 3 cities. The other 2 had died in Su Ming's hand on the other side of the whirlwind. As for the 5 planets beyond the continent, they were kept in an incredibly good condition. They were the 5 great forces of power belonging to South Union besides the 3 cities. They were 5 rather powerful and prosperous races. At that moment, each person in South Union felt danger looming over their heads. There were less than 300,000 cultivators in South Union, but each of them had used their own methods to learn of the destruction of their army dispatched for an expedition. Their dread became especially strong when the 300,000 cultivators chosen to control the ancient god had died simultaneously. The hearts of the cultivators of South Union had trembled at that moment. All the protection runes on the 5 planets had been activated, which further proved the people's terror, causing South Union to be enveloped in panic. But none of them had expected that Su Ming would arrive so soon. In just 4 days, he had moved through the whirlwind and arrived right outside South Union's doorstep. As he stared at the distant South Union, an aloof look appeared in Su Ming's eyes. To obtain a sufficient amount of laws of fate so that he could make the final preparations to possess true Morning Dao world, he cast his strongest divine ability on South Union without any hesitation the instant he approached it. Mountain Shifter. The world rumbled, the galaxy trembled, and 100,000 mountains appeared with a howl outside South Union. They instantly charged at the protection formed by the 5 planets. They descended in an instant with an astonishing bang. The 5 planets jolted simultaneously. The continent they surrounded, too, trembled. The 300,000 cultivators in the land were shocked awake. When they flew up and raised their heads, their expressions instantly changed. They saw 100,000 mountains beyond the protection rune ramming down on them continuously with an earth-shaking presence. But that was not all. In just a few breaths, at the instant the protection rune formed by the 5 planets distorted and trembled, a ghastly voice traveled through the galaxy. There was a chilling tone in that voice along with a heinous, murderous aura. Mountain. The voice only uttered one word, but the instant it landed in the ears of all the cultivators, the mountains on the 5 planets shuddered together and rose from the ground as if they had become sentient and wanted to rush out to worship their king. There were also countless mountains on the continent. They rushed out at that moment, and from the distance, millions of mountains could be seen charging into the sky like sharp blades. With piercing whistles, they rammed themselves against the protective screen of light from within. As the 100,000 mountains belonging to Su Ming descended as well, an astonishing bang came from the screen of light formed by the 5 planets. It shattered straight away and disappeared. In the eyes of all the cultivators, the world turned into a world of mountains. Ocean Remover. Su Ming said faintly from beyond their world. Black light shone on his body, and the light of extreme darkness spread out over 100,000 feet, causing the galaxy to turn completely black. The black light looked like it had turned into an ocean that charged towards the 5 planets and the continent that had lost their protection. Wherever it went, all the mountains would shudder, and the vision of almost all the cultivators turned dark. They instantly lost their consciousness. Their minds were enveloped by a layer of cold. But at that moment, 5 gigantic pillars of light shot out of the 5 planets. They belonged to the enchanted vessels placed on the 5 planets, which were South Union's killing moves. Once they shot out, the 5 planets immediately started withering before Su Ming's eyes. The enchanted vessels had absorbed the 5 planets' essence. They spared no pains, even causing the planet's death, to shoot out the 5 powerful pillars of light. Each one of them could force back a powerful warrior in Death Realm, while together they could seal off the entire area where Su Ming was, and they were so fast that it felt as if there was life contained in them. It was a madness that would constantly linger in them and would not disappear unless they died, even if they could not hit Su Ming in one strike. When he saw the 5 pillars of light charge towards him, a glint shone in Su Ming's eyes. He raised his right hand and struck the top of his skull. A black dragon of 1,000-something feet immediately shot out with a roar. When the dragon of destruction appeared, it roared at the 5 pillars of light, and the whole galaxy seemed to tremble. A boundless amount of freezing aura instantly gathered around him from all directions as if the dragon of destruction was the master of cold, and it could summon all the cold air in the galaxy to itself. As cracking sounds echoed in space, the 5 pillars of light were instantly frozen. Ice swiftly spread through them, and in the blink of an eye, it spread through the 5 planets, turning them into blocks of ice. A loud bang shot up, and the ice shattered. The 5 planets crumbled as well. The dragon of destruction then returned to the top of Su Ming's skull. With an aloof expression, Su Ming took a step forward and stepped onto South Union's continent. When his food landed, the continent shuddered with a bang. Cracks instantly spread out as if the continent was about to fall apart. I am 9th Summit's Great Sect Elder Mo Su. From today onwards, South Union will exist no longer. All of you will now offer up your souls and surrender. Su Ming's voice echoed in the area with an imposing tone. At that moment, mountains surrounded the sky of South Union while there were cracks and loud rumbles coming from everywhere on the ground. The shattered ice from the 5 planets around them was still shooting out into space, and the light of extreme darkness surrounded the area like a tidal wave that had been swept up from the surface of an ocean and would spill down on them at any moment. It would not be a lie to describe this sight as the world on the verge of ruin. This scene, along with Su Ming's voice echoing in the air, immediately created an indescribable presence that broke the hearts of all the cultivators. Even those in Death Realm would tremble under it. After a long while, a voice filled with complicated emotions came out from the broken continent. Gradually, it was followed by other people saying the same thing. We are willing to surrender. As many voices came from the ground when the cultivators offered their souls, Su Ming's will of an antecedental spirit descended on them and turned into a cry of heaven that swiftly enveloped the area. Once Su Ming left his brand on the hearts of the 300,000 cultivators, a vast amount of laws of fate came to him. This vast increase allowed Su Ming to see hope in possessing true Morning Dao world. I want to possess true Morning Dao world. Su Ming swiftly lifted his head like a wolf revealing his fangs.